Tennessee at the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention, and I'm learning how to use calls. Now, this is the last in our 4-part series on how to locate and bring in those dirty birds. And I'm with Will Brantley, probably the most famous writer in hunting at the moment, and editor of Realtree.com, the world's foremost hunting information resource. If you don't look at it, what the hell is wrong with you? Get on there now. In the meantime, Will, we've been learning how to identify the birds, bring them in close to us, but when they get real close, then you need to be ready with your shotgun or your bow or whatever to take that bird. And a lot of people move from the friction calls and the box calls then over to a mouth call. But it's one of the most difficult and complicated and frankly uncomfortable ways of calling
it is. It's definitely got the biggest learning curve. Now, all that said, in a lot of ways I differ from a lot of serious turkey hunters in that I don't like to carry a whole lot of stuff with me. Increasingly I'm sticking 3 or 4 calls in my pocket, and that's pretty much what I'm using all the time. If I need a little bit more volume, I might use a friction call or a box call, but for most of my working turkeys, I'm using a mouth call the whole time, and it's nice because I can be leaning on my stock, looking down the barrel and calling, and there's no movement there. And I in my opinion, I'm definitely not a contest turkey caller, but I can make turkey sounds, and I think once you do kind of get a mouth call mastered, I think the versatility that it offers and the realism is in a lot of ways unmatched, by the other styles of call. So
cool. So you're going to hopefully show me today how to use a diaphragm call without dying. Now, I have tried this at home quite a few times. I've put one of these into my mouth, and my first reaction is to try and throw up. I've got this nasty gag reflex. Sorry, I know how my wife feels from time to time now, but it is tricky to master.
It is.
I've sounded like a drowning cat, a tortured wildebeest, and all manner of creatures in between, but I've not yet made a turkey
Yeah, well,
sound.
it's unlike learning to use a friction call, learning to use a box call. At the end of this video, you're not going to be making perfect turkey sounds on a mouth call, but I think the key to it is just getting it in your mouth to where it's comfortable, to where you're forcing air over it. And you got to remember what's happening is those reeds are vibrating in your mouth, and they're doing it at a pretty high speed, and that can be uncomfortable if it's hitting you the roof of your mouth. Yeah. The call's probably not positioned in there just right, or it could be a little bit too big or too small. But once you get to the stage where you can just make a turkey-like sound on a diaphragm call, it's just a matter of, I stick one in my mouth. There's a lot of muscles in your mouth that have to be kind of trained to be able to do this. And before every turkey season, if I'm driving around, I've got a call in my mouth, just kind of getting those muscles up and going. And, it's just a matter of just sticking with it, and there'll kind of be a moment where you're like, damn, that sounded like a turkey, and then you can repeat it. So
why don't we have a quick look at the calls? I've got this Lucky Lady call from Zinc. Other calls are available, of course, but I hear that these are very good. Sure. And you said you used one of these all last season.
Yeah, there's a lot of different styles of mouth call. The Lucky Lady there, you can see it's a triple reed. It's got a pretty aggressive cut on the top. This one, I don't remember the model off the top of my head, but you can see this one's very subtle. It's a double reed, and it's going to make a real soft, a soft yelp. It's good for tree yelps. I use a double reed a lot in the fall when I'm trying to imitate young birds. In the spring, I tend to go for a little bit more aggressive cut and get some rasp, but either one of them, you're looking to make, the sounds of a turkey yelping. Yeah. So the first things to keep in mind is put it in your mouth right side up. Okay. It's very easy to put in a diaphragm call upside down, and usually it's going to be, the logo is going to be on the top. Yeah. Many calls, you can see the reed assembly here is a horseshoe shape. Most of them those are going to be made of aluminum. There are some wooden ones, and quite a few of those will have kind of a little notch or a little dimple there to kind of. And I'm trying to feel on this one. It doesn't have that on the top, but it kind of lets you know that call is in your mouth correctly. The dimple goes up, but the idea is you're blowing over the tops of those reeds and getting that vibration and making that turkey sound. So I'm going to usually get it in my mouth, moisten it up a little bit. And it's what you're doing, you're kind of putting pressure against the roof of your mouth, kind of pressing the call against the roof of your mouth with your tongue, and then forcing air between the tongue, the roof of your mouth, and the call. And it's, like I say, it's going to start making noises And once you kind of have the cadence and the things mastered, you know, and it's really good to kind of have some of the friction calls mastered, because you do, the cadence is the same regardless of the style call. And then you can start honing in on it and perfecting it a little bit.
Okay. So should we give it a go then?
Yeah, I think so.
So put it on the roof of my mouth and just blow over the top. You ready, guys? If I choke, baby, I love you. And I've left everything to the dog. Okay, so it's on the roof of my mouth. It's a noise.
It's, you know, changing the tone and the pitch of that noise is all about changing the airflow and the positioning of the call, and you just kind of got to experiment with it. You know, that one kind of sounded like a squirrel barking, but
yeah, so but I guess, as long as it's a big squirrel, I'm okay.
There you go. So.
Got me aim noise it now.
And there you go. You're an expert turkey caller right there.
So I made it from making a noise to making no noise.
You know, one thing to point out too here, for a guy that's just learning to use it, you know, a triple reed that you have with some of the aggressive cuts on it that's made to be raspy, it requires a little bit more air. It's probably a little bit harder to learn. If you get one that's a little bit softer cut like this, like this double reed, you see it's just straight across. Yeah. It's easier to get those reeds to vibrate. They're going to make a pretty. You don't have the range of sounds on this call that you can make with that one, but for somebody just learning, it's probably an easier call. We're just not going to be swapping them back and forth. So.
So I've got a little bit of work to do on it. So if you have 3 top tips for a guy that's learning how to use mouth call, what would they be?
Make sure it fits. If it's buzzing on the inside of your mouth, if there's something uncomfortable there, you've got a fitting issue. You may need to, no part of this outside of it makes any sound. That creates the seal in the roof of your mouth. So maybe you need to trim it, or maybe you need to shop for a call that's a little bit bigger. They're not real expensive, so you can buy several and try some until you get one that's comfortable. And then 2 is once you start making a noise, although it is, it's funny at first, once you start making a noise, just stick with it. And 3, if you've got somebody that that's a good turkey caller, and you can sit down across the table from them and they'll work with you, they make a noise, you try to imitate it, and it becomes a back and forth. I think that's the best way to learn.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the phone to you at least 2 or 3 times a week.
And we'll have a conference call, a turkey calling conference call. We can even Skype it. So.
Cool. Yeah, you can see me grotesque. You can see me choke then live on air. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really
absolutely.
appreciate it. And I'm going to dedicate my first bird I kill with a mouth call to you. The legend
Sounds like a
Will
plan.
Brantley, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you've missed a previous episodes in the series, click one of the links now. Subscribe to Team Mod TV for the best tutorial videos on YouTube and our new show, Team Mod's Academy.